Chapter 21-25. The Past Life 50. Dongfang Ye's face darkened. Her eyes were cold and sullen, and she was still wondering if she should take action or not. After pondering for a long time, Dongfang Yu suppressed her heart's anger and looked at old lady Mu coldly. You have no right to meddle in my master's business. You should go back and control your son and daughter-in-law so that they don't bother my master again. After saying that, Dongfang Yu turned around and was ready to leave. Old lady Mu pointed at Dongfang Yu angrily and shouted, "Stop right there. Who allowed you to leave without my permission?" Her anger was bursting, and the way she looked at Dongfang Yu was very hostile. This girl, she is simply rude. I don't know how little Nine could have such a rude servant around her. I told you to stop. Didn't you hear me? Old lady Mu pushed Mu Qingjia's hand aside and went forward to pull Dongfang Yes. Who knew that Dongfang Yu could push her away with a flip of her hand? Old lady Mu was caught off guard. She fell and rolled down the steps. The people present were shocked hearing her scream and saw her landing on the ground miserably. Mu Qingya covered her mouth, a little shocked. She looked at old lady Mu rolling down the steps and hurriedly rushed to help her. Her voice was full of anxiety. Grandmother, what happened to you? Old lady Mu was thrown to the ground. Her vision was blurred, and she had hit her head on the ground, so it was bleeding. Mu Qingya cried. Go to the emperor's son-in-law's manor and call the guards. Quick! Mu Qingya was not strong enough to carry old lady Mu back. Moreover, they did not have the habit of bringing guards when they went out, but what Mu Qingya did not expect was that this servant was so bold that she dared to hurt her grandmother. This time, father will see these people's true color. A cold light flashed in her eyes, followed by tears. She was anxious and heartbroken. Perhaps it was a coincidence that Mu Yi happened to approach them with his fellow officers. He saw old lady Mu lying unconscious on the ground, and his heart stopped beating. His face was pale as he rushed forward. Who did this to my mother? His mother had beaten him and his late wife with a stick and even hated his daughter. Me for extra chapters. But, after all, she was the mother who gave birth to him and raised him. How could he tolerate someone doing that to his mother? Mu Yi's eyes reddened. He slowly turned around, and his eyes fell upon Dongfang Yu, who looked as calm as ever. Dongfang Yu looked at old lady Mu and smiled coldly. She did not want to hurt this old woman because she knew this old woman and the ninth emperor were still a family, but it did not mean she had no temper. After that, there was Mu Yi. After he gained power, he finally made his family listen to him and continue his relationship with the woman he loved, and no one was able to stop him. But, he could not let the woman he loved become a concubine, so he divorced old lady Mu and married his lover. Chapter 21-27. The Past Life 52. This girl dared to be so reckless just because she has little Nine on her side. What makes her think that I won't do anything to save little Nine's reputation? Ridiculous. I know my daughter well. Little Nine's servant has caused trouble outside. Of course, I won't let this rude servant go. Dongfang Ye's eyes grew colder as she gripped her sword tightly. However, someone suddenly spoke up ahead, making Dongfang Yu pause. Maiden Dongfang, it's you. Sima Yan pushed through the crowd and rushed toward Dongfang Yu excitedly. He caught a glimpse of Mu Yi, who was full of anger, and frowned. Mu Yi, why are you here? And noble lady, what are you doing here? Mu Yi was just about to order someone to arrest Dongfang Yu when he heard Sima Yan call out to him. His face stiffened. General Sima and this servant know each other. Surprisingly, he even addressed her as a maiden. General Sima was a great man. The officers always fought in the courtroom, and if Sima Yan were involved, there would indeed be some trouble. General Sima, Mu Yi forced a smile. You know this girl? Sima Yan smiled and said, "Oh, you mean Dongfang Yu. She is the daughter of an old friend. Not long ago, my men saw her in the imperial city. I did not believe it, so I sent people to investigate, but I did not expect that it was her." The daughter of an old friend. Mu Yi laughed coldly. If her father could become Sima Yan's friend, then he must be someone with power. Maybe this girl became a servant after she lost her family, no wonder she's quite arrogant. Her previous lifestyle has made her so ill-mannered. How could such a servant stay by Little Nine, and how did Little Nine control her? Me for extra chapters. So she's Sima Yan's old friend's daughter, Mu Yi smiled. This girl hurt my old mother just now. I just want an explanation from her. Oh, Sima Yan said with a smile, sorry to say this, but your old mother was brutal. Look, are there any noble families in the imperial city who are willing to be friends with her? Even her previous husband left her and didn't want to see her for so many years. And look at those noble women. Which one of them has not been scolded by her? There was a common lady married into a noble family because of love. She went to the wedding banquet and said that the newlywed lady was shameless and called her a vixen. Old Lady Mu was once married to Mu Yi's father, but Mu Yi's father had long had a beloved girl. It was a pity that Old Lady Mu was his family's choice, and they forced them to get married. Mu Yi's father was a loyal man. After the marriage, he did not touch Old Lady Mu. Old Lady Mu then bought a drug from somewhere and drugged Mu Yi's father. If it were someone else, it would not have been a matter of an apology. Looking at Mu Qingjia's face, Sima Yan smirked and said, "You want to make Dongfang Yu apologize? That is impossible." He glanced at the people in front of him coldly, but his eyes turned gentle when he turned to Dongfang Yu. "Maiden Dongfang, you don't need to pay attention to these people. I was wondering if you would come with me and be a guest in my house." Chapter 21-28. The Past Life 53. Old Lady Mu went to the wedding banquet, cursing and raging violently. Since then, everyone in this city had stayed away from her. Mu Yi's father's family also regretted that they had forced him to marry this old lady back then. Even though the old lady had been divorced, that year's incident was still the talk of the town. So, there was really no one in this imperial city who liked Old Lady Mu. Now, Old Lady Mu had probably seen this young girl and deliberately bullied her. However, she was the 9th Emperor's pupil, so she must be as strong as her master. No one in the imperial city dared to teach Old Lady Mu a lesson in public, fearing her as she was the mother of the Emperor's son-in-law. Now, Old Lady Mu must be embarrassed because of this young girl. Sima Yan did not understand why Mu Yi would still side his unreasonable mother and attack this girl. Could he not see what kind of virtue his mother had? General Sima, Mu Yi's face sank. I respect you as a general, protecting the kingdom and the people. So I have been more tolerant of you, but if you do this again, don't blame me for being ungracious. Sima Yan sneered. Really? You are only a defeated general. I would like to see how you will fight me. You, Mu Yi's face darkened. He looked at Sima Yan with his eyes full of anger. Sima Yan was right. Mu Yi was indeed not his opponent. However, Mu Yi was an imperial relative, and Sima Yan was just a general, yet he dared to be so rude to the emperor's son-in-law. General Sima, Mu Qingya smiled and walked towards Sima Yan. My father is only worried about grandmother. After all, grandmother is very old. She fell, and if something happens, who would take the responsibility? Sima Yan sneered. If that old lady falls sick, the whole imperial city will be celebrating it. Moreover, grandmother is not only my father's mother but also my mother's mother-in-law. Mu Qingya smiled faintly. Of course, he cannot see grandmother being bullied. Generally, I don't like to pressure people using my status, but I know more about respect and filial piety. No matter how bad grandmother is, please respect her. Sima Yan looked at Mu Qingya coldly. These people are not afraid of death. Don't they know who Dongfang Yi is? There were many things he could say out loud. Me for extra chapters. General Sima, we didn't ask much. We just want her to apologize. As long as she apologizes, we can forgive all her actions. How about that? The crowd looked at Mu Qingya respectfully. Noble lady indeed never used her power to oppress others, and more importantly, she's certainly filial and obedient to all her relatives. Now she's only asking for an apology. How difficult is that? However, she had never seen her, and even if she had worked as a palace servant, would her grandfather punish her father for her sake? As expected, hearing Mu Qingya's words, Mu Yi's expression relaxed a lot. He continued to make the guards block their way. Qingya, don't meddle in this matter. This girl hurt your grandmother, and I just need her to apologize. If we do not receive even an apology, then she will not leave. But, Mu Qingya bit her lip. Mu Yi's face turned cold. This is my decision. Seeing that Mu Yi's words had come to this, Mu Qingya sighed and did not open her mouth again, but only looked at Sima Yan guiltily. Sima Yan smiled coldly as he turned to look at Mu Yi. Are you sure you want to do this? No regrets. No regrets. Mu Yi's expression was firm and unquestionable. Dongfang Yu was a little hesitant. She looked at Sima Yan standing in front of her in silence and finally nodded. All right. Hearing these words, Sima Yan quietly sighed in relief, and the smile upon his face widened. He gestured invitingly and was about to bring Dongfang Yu away with him. It was partial that Mu Yi saw that his mother had suffered so much. He did not want to let Dongfang Yu go, so he ordered the people of the emperor's son-in-law's manor to block their way. Seeing the action of the guards, Sima Yan's face gradually turned cold again. What are the guards doing here? You still don't want us to leave? Mu Yi stiffened and said expressionlessly, she must go back and apologize to my mother. Otherwise, she won't be leaving today. As a son, no matter how his mother was, he could not allow others to bully her like this. Otherwise, he would embarrass his mother, who nurtured and brought him up over the years. Besides, despite all her faults, his mother had worked hard to bring him up alone and had even not remarried for his sake. His mother had suffered so much for so many years because of him. This was his rightful repayment for her. Old Lady Mu did not marry again because her bad reputation was known to the whole city that no one would marry her. Of course, Old Lady Mu would not tell Mu Yi about that. She instead put herself in a miserable light to gain Mu Yi's trust. However, Mu Yi had always thought that he dragged the old lady down. So, he listened to the old lady and did not want her to suffer even a little bit of aggravation. Mu Yi, you think just because you are the emperor's son-in-law, you can do whatever you want. If you have to stop Maiden Dongfang, then you should go back to the palace and talk to the emperor. Mu Yi was stunned. He hesitated after hearing these words. This girl and the emperor know each other. That can't be right. She's a servant. Anyone who is acquainted with the emperor can never be demoted to a servant. Uncle Sima, Mu Qingya smiled reluctantly. I know your intention of saying this. There is no need for you to lie to my father. He will see the truth once he goes to my grandfather and asks. Don't worry. I won't let my father make things difficult for this girl. She can go now. She thought that Sima Yan said that on purpose, deliberately making his father believe that Dongfang Yu and her grandfather know each other, as a way to make Mu Yi let her go. Me for extra chapters. In truth, the emperor couldn't know a little servant. Unless there was only one possibility. This servant had worked as a palace servant in the palace before. Earlier, it was old Lady Mu who first tried to pull her before she did something to her. After all, Mu Yi was still the 9th Emperor's father. Just in case, people know that the 9th Emperor's woman attacked Mu Yi first. The 9th Emperor did not care about this, but she did. You shouldn't have stopped him from making a move on me just now. Dongfang Ye's face was cold. If he had made the first move, I would have been able to defend myself, and if I had defended myself, I would have been able to get him killed. Then, no one else would have had the chance to humiliate my family and the 9th Emperor. Sima Yan froze. So it has become my fault now. Chapter 2130, The Past Life 55. Sima Yan's heart surged with anger as he sneered and looked at Mu Yi. He looked up and said coldly, "Guard, block all of them for me. No one can stop me from taking Maiden Dongfang away today." This Mu Yi still does not understand that I'm saving his life. Is there anyone around the 9th Emperor who is less powerful? If Dongfang Yu is angry, no one could protect him. Dongfang Yu glances at Mu Yi coldly. Her hand on the sword slowly fell. She then turned around and followed Sima Yan. Mu Yi was about to stop her, but the people from General Manor had already surrounded Mu Yi, not giving him a chance to leave. At that moment, Mu Yi's face darkened. The people of General Manor were powerful. If they really wanted to make a move, he would never be a match for these people. The reason he dared to do so before was that he was taking a gamble. He was gambling that Sima Yan would not dare to make a move against him. I didn't expect that. Sima Yan can be so arrogant today. Mu Yi took a deep breath, cold and sullen. I must go to the palace to report this matter to the emperor. Sima Yan, as a general, dares to be so arrogant. He did not even show respect to the emperor's son-in-law. He said this out loud deliberately so that the general's guards could hear him and that they would know that they would be doomed if they went against him. After saying that, Mu Yi turned around and left. The people of General Manor saw that Mu Yi did not go after Sima Yan, so they did not stop him from leaving. Mu Qingya was also a bit dazed. Sima Yan had obviously been fighting with his father for a long time, but why was he so arrogant this time? However, she did not think much about it and followed Mu Yi's lead and left. It was only after Mu Yi left that the crowd dispersed, and the guards retreated. Sima Yan stopped and looked back at Dongfang Yu respectfully. Maiden Dongfang, it is the emperor who wants to see you. Dongfang Yu frowned. I don't like the imperial family. Sima Yan froze. Why, me for extra chapters? Because of, Dongfang Yu smiled coldly. Qing Luo and Mu Yi. After hearing these words, Sima Yan froze for a moment. He thought it was just a simple fight, but he did not expect that Princess Qing Luo was also involved. What kind of grudge can there be between them? Sima Yan did not ask her that. He just thought about it and asked, since Maiden Dongfang does not like Mu Yi, why did you let him go just now? Oh, Dongfang Yu was stunned. I can't let others have any chance to humiliate the 9th Emperor. She had already hit old Lady Mu just now, so she would not attack when Mu Yi did not make the first move. Mu Qingya pursed her lips and lowered her eyes. It's useless. Sima Yan would rather fight with father and protect that servant. Mother, don't you know about Sima Yan's strength? So how could father be his opponent? She raised her head with a helpless look in her eyes. Qing Luo looked at Mu Yi's bitter face, and her heart gradually sank. Later, I will go to the palace, and I must report to my father. We must not let Sima Yan be a mighty man in Fengyan Kingdom. He does not deserve it. Chapter 2131, The Past Life 56-inch Maiden Dongfang. Sima Yan's expression turned serious. There's a matter I would like to ask about. What is it? Dongfang Yu hesitated for a few moments before asking. You're here now, and I wonder if the ninth emperor. Is she here? Sima Yan's gaze glowed, and there was a slight expectation in it. If there were no ninth emperor, there would not have been so many years of peace in the world. Those powerful sects would have looked for trouble with Fengyun Kingdom long ago. Therefore, when the name of the ninth emperor was mentioned, Sima Yan's eyes lit up. Dongfang Yu gazed blankly and blinked. Oh, she's not here. The ninth emperor liked peace and quiet, and she would never let these people bother her. So, Sima Yan looked a little disappointed, but he did not ask more. He smiled. Maiden Dongfang, do you have time to visit my general manor? No, Dongfang Yu looked at the food in her hand. It was getting cold. I have to go home first. Next time if Mu Yi wants to attack me, you must not stop him. Just let him do so. Sima Yan was speechless. He was suddenly a little confused about what was in Dongfang Yu's mind. However, Dongfang Yu ignored him and left. She had to hurry to take the pastries back to the ninth emperor. At the emperor's son-in-law's manor, from a distance, Qing Luo saw Mu Yi walking back with Mu Qingya. She hurriedly greeted them and asked, Mu Yi, what happened? Why is mother being carried back? Mu Yi wanted to say something, but perhaps because this matter involved little Nine, he held back again. After seeing his appearance, Qing Luo turned to Mu Qingya. Qingya, what happened? Mu Qingya smiled bitterly as she gradually closed her eyes, and only after a few seconds did she open them. Mother, don't blame father. It's not that he failed to protect grandmother. It's because that servant is little Nine's woman. Little Nine, me for extra chapters. King Luo's heart fluttered a little, and she slowly closed her eyes. It's her again. Why does that girl keep haunting us? What made Qing Luo furious was that Mu Yi, such a filial man, did not take any action because of little Nine. Mother, Mu Qingya knew what was in King Luo's heart. She smiled bitterly. This matter is not father's fault. Initially, father was about to avenge grandmother, but General Sima appeared, and he seemed to know that servant. Therefore, he stopped father from punishing that servant. Mother is unconscious, but you still let the culprit go. Mu Yi, I don't care if little Nine mistreats me. But I won't allow her to treat mother like this. She is your mother who gave birth to you and raised you. Her voice was trembling with grief and pain. He would never do this without any reason. Was there something he did not know? The moment Sima Yan was mentioned, King Luo's heart was filled with hatred. I don't know why father still reappointed him when this kind of person doesn't respect the imperial family. Mu Yi's strength was not much worse than Sima Yan's, but her father had always refused to let Mu Yi do some official tasks for him. After saying this, Princess Qing Luo asked Mu Yi and Mu Qingya to go back to the manor to rest first, and she brought her servants to the palace. Imperial Palace. Inside the imperial study room, the emperor was flipping through the folders in his hand, but at that moment, a eunuch came in hurriedly and reported, Your Majesty, Princess Qing Luo is here to see you. Qing Luo. What is she doing here? The emperor rubbed his temples to ease his headache. When Qing Luo wanted to marry Mu Yi, he was dead set against it. After all, Mu Yi was a widowed man, but Qing Luo insisted on marrying him. What made him helpless was that the old lady of the Mu family was really disturbing. Later, when Mu Qingya was born, he gradually accepted Mu Yi and even gave the emperor's son-in-law's manor in hope that Mu Qingya could live better. But now, when he heard Qing Luo had come to him, he felt a headache coming, and he sounded a little helpless. Let her in. Qing Luo was his daughter, and even if she was not his most favored, he still had to treat her well. and it was a bit hard to turn her away from the door. Qing Luo came in with a sad face. The emperor froze and frowned. Mui bullied her. Qing Luo was a princess. How could anyone bully her? Qing Luo, tell me, what happened? The emperor asked with a frown. King Luo's eyes filled with tears. She knelt on the ground and shed tears. Father, you have to do something for your daughter. What is it? Qing Luo closed her eyes, her gaze full of sorrow. My mother-in-law just went out today. But she was injured and carried back. When Mu Yi went to seek justice for my mother, he was stopped by someone, and I am furious about this. The emperor had thought of many possibilities, and he even believed that Mu Yi had done something wrong to her. However, it never occurred to him that Qing Luo was here for that old lady of the Mu family. Me for extra chapters. Mentioning that old lady, the emperor's head hurt even more. There was no one in this city willing to accept her. However, although he did not like old lady Mu, for the sake of the emperor's son-in-law's family, those people still had to be given attention. Therefore, the emperor was silent for half a second and asked, Mu Yi is the emperor's son-in-law. Who dared to stop him? Qing Luo lowered her gaze, and a cold light flashed in her eyes. She knew that her father would do anything for her. If Sima Yan dared to bully people so much, his end must be very tragic. Father, it's General Sima, she raised her head and said. Sima Yan. This name made the emperor freeze for a moment, and he frowned. Why is General Sima stopping him? This matter involves Sima Yan. However, Sima Yan was a person he knew very well. Wait a minute, just now Qing Luo mentioned Little Nine, the emperor trembled, and his gaze was filled with anger. Of course, this anger was directed at Qing Luo. Qing Luo. The roar of anger caused Qing Luo to tremble. She also felt that the name Dongfang Yu was somewhat familiar earlier but could not recall where she had heard it before. But, just as she was racking her brain for a memory, the emperor suddenly shouted, making her shudder in fear, and her gaze was also full of shock. Chapter 2133, The Past Life 58-inch Mu Yi wanted to punish a servant, and he treated him like this. A servant? The emperor was stunned. He frowned hard and said, Guard, summon General Sima now. He knew Sima Yan well, so he had to find out why Sima Yan would protect a servant. The eunuch accepted the order, retreated, and soon left the imperial study room. Within a few moments, a stern Sima Yan walked in from outside the imperial study room. He smiled coldly after he saw Princess Qing Luo kneeling in the imperial study room. General Sima, the emperor's face remained calm. Earlier, Qing Luo came to tell me that Mu Yi wanted to deal with a servant, and you stopped him? Indeed. Sima Yan raised his head and smiled coldly. He glanced at Qing Luo but did not deny it. Emperor, I also have something to say. You should do something with your son-in-law's family. Every other day, they go outside to cause trouble. One day, they might just bring disaster to this kingdom. Qing Luo sarcastically turned to Sima Yan. General Sima, are you saying this is our fault? I'm telling you, this is not the fault of our emperor's son-in-law's family. That is Little Nine's servant. When she sees Qingya and my mother, is that hard for her to kneel and respect them? The emperor felt his headache getting worse. How did it involve Little Nine, the Mu family's member that was missing before? Anne. Qing Luo continued, she is Little Nine's servant. Even if Little Nine sees me, she also has to call me mother. Since her surname is Mu, her servant should also treat the Mu family as her master. My husband was just going to punish a servant, but is it considered disastrous to the kingdom? Hilarious. Do you think you have the right to say that? Sima Yan's head also buzzed. He did not understand how Dongfang Yu got involved with little Nine of the Mu family. Or perhaps, Sima Yen froze. Was little Nine of the Mu family, the ninth emperor, the person they had been trying to find? This stirred something Sima Yen, and the delight in his eyes spoke for itself. General Sima, the emperor frowned at Sima Yen. Do you have anything to say? Speak then. Sima Yen took a deep breath and held down his inner excitement. Do you know who that servant is? The emperor froze for a moment and asked, Who? Dongfang Yu. Dongfang Yu. This name made the emperor's body tremble, and he stood up so suddenly. He moved so fast that all the inkstones on the table were swept to the floor. He looked at Sima Yen in disbelief as if he was not aware of it. Who did you just say that servant was? Me for extra chapters. Dongfang Yu. How could it be her? People from the emperor's son-in-law's house has offended her. Even though there are many outstanding girls in this world, how many women can be as good as my daughter, Qingya? Men rule this world. There are very few great women, and only men can be outstanding to this extent. Qing Luo smirked as she saw that the emperor and Sima Yen did not believe her. She continued, I have proof. I heard that the ninth emperor only has women by her side, never a man. Therefore, the ninth emperor must be a man. Otherwise, which girl is so perverted to accept so many women and bring them home? Many people had guessed the ninth emperor's gender, but in the end, they all agreed that the ninth emperor was a man. Father, shut up. The emperor shouted angrily. Do you know how much trouble that old lady Mu has caused today? Why should that girl from the Dongfang family kneel and bow to her? She was the ninth emperor's people. No one in this mainland dared to be so reckless with the ninth emperor's people. How dare this old lady of the Mu family? Qing Luo stiffened, looking at the anger upon the emperor's face. She remembered it now. A few years ago, a family was exterminated. That family, it seemed to be, the Dongfang family. Dongfang Yu was the only daughter of the Dongfang family. Just since the Dongfang family was exterminated, Dongfang Yu disappeared, but what did this have to do with her father, and why was her father defending her so much? She is just a little girl from the Dongfang family. Qing Luo bit her lip. I remember when the Dongfang family was powerful, but they sought their own death, attracting a strong enemy before they were exterminated. Now the Dongfang family is left with only Dongfang Yu. So what else is there to care about? Was it because back then, Sima Yen and the Dongfang family were in a good relationship that the father was so defensive of her? But her father was not such a person. She was the emperor's daughter, so her father should defend her. The emperor laughed coldly. It seems that you do not know about it. Do you know that years after Dongfang Ye's disappearance, where she went? Where? She was rescued by the ninth emperor. The ninth emperor never saved people for no reason, and since it was the ninth emperor who saved her, she was bound to stay by her side. Qing Luo was stunned and lost in her thought for a long time. Me for extra chapters. Earlier, father said that Dongfang Yu was the ninth emperor's people, but she's little Nine's servant. Father, could you be mistaken? She's little Nine's servant. Maybe back then, the ninth emperor just passed by and saved her but did not take her away. The emperor looked at Qing Luo coldly. You have never thought that little Nine is the ninth emperor? Qing Luo was dumbfounded for a while before bursting out laughing. In this serious discussion, her laughter sounded a little inappropriate. Father, little Nine does have a resemblance to the ninth emperor as she also has 9 in her name. But other than that, how else does she look like the ninth emperor? I heard that the ninth emperor always wears masks and never shows her face to the world. If she were really the ninth emperor, she wouldn't have taken Dongfang Yu to the market. Qing Luo smiled and continued, moreover, we don't know the ninth emperor's gender. It has been said before that the ninth emperor is a man. Hearing that, the emperor's head hurt even more. Little Nine. If she was really the ninth emperor, he was afraid that there would be some big trouble. Qing Luo had snatched away Little Nine's father. And Sima Yan laughed bitterly. Mu Yi treated Dongfang Yu so badly, but Dongfang Yu did not even make a move. At first, I did not understand why, until it was said that she was Little Nine's servant. I suspect that Little Nine is the ninth emperor. The emperor pondered and said, General Sima, you go and try to get close to Little Nine to see if she is the ninth emperor. But you must not offend her. Our kingdom already owes her. If you offend her now, I'm afraid it will be difficult to deal with her. Why must it be Little Nine? Because of Qing Luo, it had become a little difficult for the emperor to deal with the ninth emperor. Chapter 2135. The past life 60. There were too many beautiful girls on Cloud Mountain, and the ninth emperor was only interested in girls. The more beautiful the girl was, the easier it was for her to get his attention. Therefore, how could he not be a man? All right. The emperor frowned impatiently. Even if Little Nine is not the ninth emperor, Dongfang Yu does have a relationship with him. So in the future, people from the emperor's son-in-law's manor must not provoke her again. Qing Luo was stunned and a little mad. Her eyes were full of resentment and anger. She had already made it so clear, but why did her father still not understand? But, father, isn't it bad to allow people to disrespect the imperial family? The emperor's face sank as he sternly shouted, guards, send the princess back. This matter does not need to be brought to me again, and I don't want you to cause trouble outside again. The old lady of the Mu family is a troublemaker. Is there anyone in this city who even gets along with her? King Luo's face sank. She is Mu Yi's mother, father. No matter what, she was the mother of the man she loved. How could she tolerate the others bullying her like that? Qing Luo closed her eyes slowly, and her gaze filled with sorrow. She still did not understand why her father had become so afraid of others. He was the ruler of a kingdom, but he was still afraid of Dongfang Yu. The emperor's face sank as he shouted expressionlessly, get out. Qing Luo pursed her lips, looked at the emperor, turned around, and left. This time she did not say a word, but her face was still filled with resentment. Sima Yan sighed. Emperor, the princess will understand later that you are doing it for her good. If the emperor did not truly care for the princess, why would he say this to her? But if the princess was determined not to listen to him, there was nothing left to do. She did not understand that they could not mess with some people on this mainland. The emperor's face was cold. That old lady of the Mu family is so problematic. She loves to provoke Dongfang Yu, but that girl is the ninth emperor's people. How can others provoke her? Sima Yan fell silent. Emperor, do you think that Little Nine is the ninth emperor? The emperor was slightly stunned. He also fell into silence and did not reply. A few moments later, he said, when you met Dongfang Yu, what did Dongfang Yu say? Me for extra chapters. Sima Yan shook his head. Dongfang Yu said that the ninth emperor is not here, but she did not deny that she is with the ninth emperor. So, emperor, since Dongfang Yu is with the ninth emperor, why did she become someone else's servant? The only one who she can serve should be the ninth emperor. In the emperor's son-in-law's manor, Mu Qingya waited anxiously outside the gate. It was already late, but Princess Qing Luo had not come back. She lowered her gaze, and an unreadable light flashed in her eyes. She raised her head a few moments later. It seems that mother is not coming back. So I have to meet Little Nine again. Mu Qingya was about to walk down the steps when Mu Yi came out of the courtyard. He looked at Mu Qingya and asked, Qingya, where are you going to? Mu Qingya smiled bitterly. Father, I haven't been able to talk to my sister last time, so I want to see her again. We are sisters, and we both are father's daughters. Maybe she will listen to me. Chapter 2136, The Past Life 61-inch General Sima. The emperor pondered for a moment and said, Your previous relationship with the Dongfang family is still good. You go to persuade her. Do not let the ninth emperor remember about her revenge, and I will warn Qing Luo again so that she does not cause any trouble. Sima Yan nodded. Emperor, don't worry. I know what to do. All right, you can go now. The emperor ordered him to go and did not say more. Sima Yan put his fist to his palm and smiled. I understand, and I have just had someone secretly follow Dongfang Yu. I think I will soon be able to find little Nine of the Mu family. He and Mu Yi were not on good terms for now. Mu Yi would not say anything if he asked him, so he had to use his way to find little Nine. By then, he would know whether little Nine was the ninth emperor or not. The emperor hesitated for a moment. The ninth emperor has always shown herself in masks and probably does not want others to know that she is a girl. Why? Are you stupid? The ninth emperor doesn't like men but girls. If people knew that she was also a girl, wouldn't that cause people to criticize her? Therefore, she let people mistake her for a boy so that she can stay with her girls. Hearing the emperor's words, Sima Yan was first dumbfounded. Then, he nodded since he felt that this was very reasonable. If he liked someone of the same gender, he also did not want too many people to know about it, lest it provoked criticism. Bad rumors were the most terrible and could be enough to put people to death. Even if that person were the ninth emperor, she would still be drowned by those spittles. So, the emperor frowned. I suspect that Dongfang Yu is not her servant but her woman. Sima Yan was shocked. He could accept it if it were anyone else, but why did it have to be Dongfang Yu he knew? It was tough for him to imagine that Dongfang Yu would submit herself to a woman. That's all you need to know. The emperor smiled and said, So, when you want to please the ninth emperor, you can send a few more women to her. Maybe when she is happy, she will reward us with a few spirit herbs, all of which can greatly enhance the strength of Fengyun Kingdom. Sima Yan pondered for a moment before nodding. I understand. Sima Yan left immediately after saying these words. Fortunately, there were many girls in Fengyun Kingdom. He could choose a few beautiful girls and send them to the ninth emperor, hoping that she would put aside her need for revenge. Sima Yan was somewhat helpless. He hated to do so, but he had no other choice. This was all because of the trouble caused by Princess Qing Luo. Me for extra chapters. Nan Changfeng stood not far away. He heard that and looked at Dongfang Yu coldly. He then slowly walked out and headed toward the ninth emperor smilingly. His silver hair was so dazzling, with a vertical line between his eyebrows. He looked so stunning. Chapter 2137, The Past Life 62. Mu Yi froze. He listened to Mu Qingya and was silent for a short while. Qingya is right. They are still sisters. Perhaps she will listen to Qingya. Superscript 1. But, thinking of little Nine's temper, Mu Yi had some headache again and rubbed his temples. Qingya, don't go. Little Nine now has a grudge against me. I'm afraid it's a bit hard to deal with her. Mu Qingya smiled and shook her head. Father, don't worry. I know what to do, and I won't instigate a fight with my sister. After all, she is my sister and has suffered a lot of hardships over the years. So I should meet her. Looking at Mu Qingya, who was so understanding, Mu Yi felt an ache in his heart, and with a bitter smile, he patted Mu Qingya's shoulder. Qingya, I'm sorry. Little Nine has suffered a lot these years. I also want to do my part as a father to help her, but your grandmother, mother hated Little Nine, so it is a little difficult to make her accept Little Nine. If Mu Qingya could help, maybe it would be much better. Mu Qingya lowered her gaze, hiding the coldness within her eyes, and only after a long time did she let out a laugh. Father, don't worry. Leave all these things to me. I'll go talk to her on grandmother's behalf. Mu Yi smiled and nodded. All right, perhaps he trusted Mu Qingya a lot. He did not say anything more, allowing her to meet Little Nine. Meanwhile, he went back to his manor to take care of old Lady Mu. At this moment, Princess Qingluo had not returned yet. Mu Qingya looked at Mu Yi's departing figure, her eyes slightly sunk. She then turned around and left. Her expression was calm, but deep in her eyes, it had hidden emotions that others could not read. Inside the manor, the ninth emperor raised her head and saw Dongfang Yu walking back with a bag of pastries smilingly. Ninth emperor, I'm back. Well, the ninth emperor raised her eyebrows and took the pastries that Dongfang Yu handed to her. She smiled and said, You came back a little late this time. Oh, Dongfang Yu rubbed the back of her head, smiling brightly, I met old Lady Mu when I was on my way back. The ninth emperor was stunned and lowered her gaze. She bullied you. Me for extra chapters. Dongfang Yu shook her head. No, she tried to, but I dodged, and she fell. Oh, the ninth emperor smiled calmly. It's good that she didn't bully you. Dongfang Yu was stunned. She looked up at the ninth emperor and said, Ninth emperor. If I hit them. Would you? If you want to, then just do it. The ninth emperor shrugged. I do not have anything to do with those people, and they are not as important as you. They are not as important as you. These words warmed Dongfang Yu's heart, and the smile on her face grew wider. Mu Qingya froze. Little Nine knew. She knew it. Then, why didn't she punish her servant? Sister, she's your grandmother, and she's already old. She's wounded and still unconscious, yet you still keep this servant here for no good reason. Chapter 2138, The Past Life 63-inch Ninth Emperor, It's getting late. I've already warmed up your bed. You can go rest first. Dongfang Yu looked at the sky and said, It's still early. Why did the ninth emperor have to go to bed so early? Nan Changfeng glanced at Dongfang Yu coldly. Qingzhu, she did not know if it was the gaze or the word Qingzhu that made her face turn pale. She glared at Nan Changfeng fiercely and turned around to leave. However, before Dongfang Yu walked out of the courtyard's door, she ran into Mu Qingya, who had just entered, outside the courtyard. Mu Qingya did not see Dongfang Yu and almost bumped her. Luckily, Dongfang Yu reacted quickly and dodged to avoid her. Mu Qingya was stunned as she looked at Dongfang Yu standing in front of her, an unknown light flashed in her eyes. Dongfang Yu, the ninth emperor stretched her hand lazily. Next time, if someone walks without looking at the road, you do not have to dodge. She paused for a moment and said, Just kick her away directly. Yes, master. I understand. Dongfang Yu smiled. When she turned to look at Mu Qingya, her face turned cold. What are you doing here? Get out. Mu Qingya ignored Dongfang Yu and slowly walked toward the ninth emperor. She raised her chin arrogantly and smiled. Sister, I have wanted to see you for a while. Sister, these words made the ninth emperor feel goosebumps all over. She rubbed her arms and turned to look at Nan Changfeng. Why do I feel a little cold? Nan Changfeng raised his hand, took off his outer coat, and draped it over the ninth emperor's body. It's not the cold. It's someone who made you feel nauseous. Mu Qingjia's face changed dramatically after hearing these words from Nan Chongfeng. She bit her lip hard, a feeling of shame hit her heart, making her feel very uncomfortable. Sister, I'm here for father. Mu Qingya held back the anger in her heart and forced a smile. He missed you, me for extra chapters. Oh, the ninth emperor smiled carelessly. Mu Yi is not here. There is no one else here, and there is no need for you to continue pretending. These words caused Mu Qingya's expression to sink slightly for a few moments. What does sister mean by this? What do I mean? The ninth emperor stood up from her seat. Don't you understand? Her voice was low, and her tone remained calm. Mu Qingya had to admit that this woman was indeed beautiful. However, it was not enough because only strong people would be respected on this mainland. Sister, Mu Qingya glanced at Chongfeng on the side and turned to the ninth emperor again. A faint smile on her lips, this time, it really came from my father because your servant attacked my grandmother. The ninth emperor shrugged. I know. It seems that Dongfang you did not dare to talk about Sima Yan. I know. Dongfang you must have a relationship with Sima Yan. Otherwise, why did she not dare to tell little Nine? Sister, she spoke with a cold smile. She seduced that old man Sima Yan in public to avoid father's punishment, and yet you still keep such a servant around? Do you still want to protect her? The ninth emperor's gaze was fixed upon Dongfang Yu. No one knew what she was thinking, and she ignored Mu Qingya. Mu Qingya continued, I came today to tell you that in father's heart, grandmother is far more important than anyone else. Otherwise, he would not have abandoned you and your mother for her. He even married my mother. So, don't be delusional and think that he will feel guilty about you. It's impossible. Chapter 2139, The Past Life 64. Mu Qingya trembled. Her eyes were already filled with tears, and her voice carried anger. The ninth emperor smiled faintly and said, I've already talked with Dongfang Yu. Sister, I know you will. Mu Qingya smiled and went forward, trying to tug the ninth emperor's hand. The ninth emperor quickly put her hand in Nan Changfeng's hand, avoiding Mu Qingjia's hand. Nan Changfeng froze, lowering his gaze to look at her hand in his palm, and the smile on his face grew warmer. However, this somehow felt like a sword was deeply stabbing Mu Qingjia's heart. She bit her lip to restrain the anger. I have already talked with her. The ninth emperor smiled faintly. If others bullied her, why not do something more powerful to fight that person back? She knew her people well. If it were not for old lady Mu being a demon, Dongfang Yu would not have acted like that. She was a kind girl. Compared to the other girls in Cloud Mountain, she could be considered very tolerant. If it were anyone else, they would have beaten that old lady and left her half dead. Mu Qingya froze and looked at little Nine in disbelief, not believing that she could say such words. That is her grandmother. How can she bear to? Mu Qingya trembled and closed her eyes. Only after a few seconds did she open them again, staring at little Nine intensely. Grandmother is right. You have the blood of the Mu family flowing in your body, yet you still do things that are indeed so cruel and ruthless. Our Mu family has always been kind, but you are the only one who is so unfilial. She took a deep breath and continued, you are not only disloyal but also unfaithful and unfilial. With this behavior, I guess God will never let you go easily. God. The ninth emperor snorted. When God sees me, he has to call me father. Who do you think you are? Mu Qingya sneered. Even her grandfather, who was the emperor of a kingdom, did not dare to say that. Little Nine was really arrogant. Then, do you know what your servant did when father was planning to punish her? Mu Qingya sneered. The ninth emperor frowned. Mu Yi was also involved in this matter. Why didn't Dongfang Yu tell me? She looked up at Dongfang Yu. Me for extra chapters. As Dongfang Yu's eyes met hers, Dongfang Yu trembled and quickly turned around, avoiding the Ninth Emperor's gaze. Seeing how Dongfang Yu was dodging eye contact, the Ninth Emperor knew that what Mu Qingya said was true. Mu Yi had gone to find Dongfang Yu, who was in trouble. And Dongfang Yu still dared to hide that from her. Mu Qingya sneered and looked at the Ninth Emperor and then looked at Dongfang Yu, who looked scared. A cold smile grew upon her face. The Ninth Emperor released her hand and threw Mu Qingya into the lake. You can swim away from here. She looked at Mu Qingya, who was struggling in the water expressionlessly. Mu Qingya shouted angrily, "How dare you!" The Ninth Emperor had quietly placed her hand on the water, and boom, it set off a huge wave, sweeping Mu Qingya away. As if there was a huge wave behind her, pushing her away until she disappeared. Chapter 2140, The Past Life 65. Since Little Nine had already said that, there was no need for her to be friendly with Little Nine. She smiled coldly, and she finally said what she wanted to say. The Ninth Emperor smiled as she slowly walked toward her. She clicked her tongue twice, scanning Mu Qingya up and down. Mu Qingya's expression changed. She took a few steps back and looked at Little Nine cautiously. What are you going to do? Looking at Mu Qingya's expression, the Ninth Emperor laughed out loud. What are you so afraid of? With this face, you are not even half as beautiful as Dongfang Yu. Moreover, I have Chongfeng by my side. What do you think I will do to you? Hearing the Ninth Emperor's first few words, Nan Changfeng's face gradually sank. His eyes lit up at the end of her sentence, and a smile appeared upon his face. Mu Qingya froze for a moment. Little Nine. She's a pervert. Her face sank. Little Nine, I came here today for my father. You should know that my father is the Emperor's son-in-law now. If he even loves you, he won't give up the position he had today. The Ninth Emperor stroked her chin. Her face was calm, but the smile in her eyes was a bit cold. Then, you go back and tell him to be a good Emperor's son-in-law and don't bother me again. Otherwise, the Ninth Emperor laughed and shook her head. I don't want to bully the weak. It is too embarrassing. Bully. After hearing these words, Mu Qingya sneered. Her smile was sardonic as she looked up at the Ninth Emperor. The coldness in her eyes became even more apparent. Back then, she only thought that Little Nine was not very good-tempered, but she did not expect that she was still so wild and arrogant. Little Nine. Mu Qingya smiled faintly. You take care of yourself, and this servant of yours. She paused for a moment and turned to Dongfang Yu. Dongfang Yu had an unyielding cold expression and was not even willing to glance at Mu Qingya. This girl can even seduce an old man in public, and you, however, are not disciplining her well enough. She pursed her lips, and her smile became even colder. The Ninth Emperor sneered as she walked toward Mu Qingya. When Mu Qingya turned sideways, she was confronted with that stunning and breathtaking face. She had to admit that this woman was indeed beautiful, making her a little jealous. Me for extra chapters. Unfortunately, the strongest were the most important. Even if one had the most beautiful face, it would not bring any good. Since you don't want to leave on your own accord, I will give you a ride. She raised her hand and lifted Mu Qingya. Mu Qingya was a bit panicked, and her face was pale. But, she did not have time to fight back. She did not see that the young man's tender gaze was always fixed upon her, never moving away. Dongfang Yu oddly looked at Nan Chongfeng and then looked at the Ninth Emperor, frowning. She felt that Nan Chongfeng was strange. Could it be that this guy was really hitting on the Ninth Emperor? Dongfang Yu's heart thumped and even looked at Nan Chongfeng with eyes filled with cautiousness. Mu Qingya went back home in a mess. Princess Qingluo stopped in her tracks when she saw Mu Qingya and then burst into a rage. Qingya, tell me. Who did this to you? Her eyes were full of anger, and her gaze was stern. When Mu Qingya looked up, she saw Mu Yi walking out. She lowered her gaze and shook her head. Mother, I'm fine. You don't have to ask anymore. I'll just change my clothes. It's not a big deal. Chapter 2141, The Past Life 66. The whole courtyard became quiet. Nan Changfeng took a coat and draped it over the ninth emperor's body, and it gave her some warmth. He gently held her from behind. The young man's smile, too, was filled with warmth. Ninth Emperor, you still have us. The ninth emperor had not said anything, but he knew that the ninth emperor left Fengyun Kingdom in despair back then. She was out on her own, and he did not know how much suffering she had to go through to get to where she was today. The man who was her father never cared about her life but had another wife and daughter. If the ninth emperor had not returned, perhaps he would not have remembered he had such a daughter. His daughter was so excellent, and he would regret it one day for not treating her well. The ninth emperor smiled and withdrew her gaze. From the moment I decided to leave back then, there is no longer any relationship between him and me. I don't care if he marries another. After all, the world knows that my mother is dead. He does not need to hold on to her for life. At this moment, the ninth emperor still did not know, after 1,000 years, she would be reincarnated as a princess. In this life, only a man knew his wife was no longer alive but still waited for his wife for nearly 20 years until his wife came back. That man was called Feng Tianwu, and his wife was the famous Empress Nalan. Only such people were worthy of the name of a divine couple. I want. Nan Changfeng's expression was solemn as he looked at the ninth emperor, with an unreadable light in his eyes. If one day, you are no longer here, I will go to you. The ninth emperor looked at Nan Changfeng in surprise. She narrowed her eyes and patted his head with a smile. With this strength, you want to find me? I guess even if something happens, you will be the first to be in trouble, and maybe I am the one who will have to go looking for you. The ninth emperor did not know that what she said would actually happen. Little that she knew that Nan Changfeng would be in danger a few days later because of her. He would lay in her arms, almost dead. And she, giving up her life, would just allow him to reincarnate again. She even waited for 1,000 years before she got the chance to reunite with him. In that life, she was the great princess, Feng Ruqing, and he was the cold and gentle state preceptor Nan Xian. Me for extra chapters. It was a pity that they still did not know everything today and would have to face it in the future. The ninth emperor smiled and turned to the sky, and her eyes were much gentler. Nan Changfeng stood next to the ninth emperor. Don't worry because I will not hold a grudge against my sister. Mu Yi's heart ached a little. If only little Nine can be as understanding as Qingya, but, thinking about little Nine's temper, he had a bit of a headache again. He was afraid that it would be a little difficult to get her to apologize. However, if he didn't do that, Qingluo might pursue this matter and complain to the emperor. There was no way he could protect little Nine because the emperor loved Qingluo and would not let her suffer even a single bit. After all, it was not Qingluo's fault. She knew that Mu Yi had always felt guilty about little Nine. But, it was difficult for her to accept someone else's daughter and love another's daughter like her own. Chapter 2142, The Past Life 67. Princess Qingluo had just returned from the palace, and of course, she knew nothing. But what about Mu Yi? When he saw Mu Qingya in such a mess, his heart skipped a beat, and he hurried toward her, with his gaze full of concern. Qingya, didn't you go to look for little Nine? How did you end up like this? Qingluo stiffened. Little Nine. Why is it always her? She took a deep breath. Her face somewhat darkened as she turned to Mu Yi and asked, "Did Qingya go to meet little Nine?" This time, she was shouting fiercely, not pretending as she did before. She was furious. Her body trembled, and her eyes were filled with anger. Qing Luo, Mu Yi was shocked. He took a deep breath and said, "She just went to look for little Nine, but that doesn't mean little Nine did it, so..." Qing Luo turned to Mu Qingya and asked in a deep voice, "Tell me, who hurt you like this? Is it little Nine?" Mu Qingya lowered her head. Seeing her reaction, Qing Luo became even angrier. "Qingya, are you like your father, still protecting little Nine now? I don't care what she has done before, but I can't let her go this time. How can I, as a mother, let others bully my daughter? Am I worthy of being a mother?" King Luo's voice was filled with anger, and her eyes were filled with monstrous rage. Mu Yi opened his mouth and wanted to say something, but looking at King Luo's expression, he knew that any explanations would be useless now. The last time they fought because of some misunderstanding. However, this time, Qingya looked for little Nine with good intentions, and little Nine should not have done such a thing. Qing Luo, Mu Yi smiled bitterly. If it was really little Nine's doing, I'll settle this matter. I'll ask little Nine to come and apologize. Qing Luo was the princess. She had endured too much pain for him. So this time, he could not continue to let her suffer. Otherwise, it would all be a disaster for the Mu family. However, one was an imperial princess, and the other was his daughter. It was too difficult for him to choose. Mu Yi closed his eyes, trembling. After a few seconds, seeing Qing Luo did not speak, he opened his eyes and turned to Qingya. "Qingya, you do not need to worry. I will settle this matter for you. I know that you went there for me. Little Nine. After all, she has not lived with us since childhood, and there are many things she still did not understand me for extra chapters." Mu Qingya nodded with a bitter smile. "Father, I understand. That's why I will give her some time. Maybe because she is used to being alone outside and has suffered many grievances so that she may hold a grudge. I can grow up by father's side, but she couldn't. I understand, father. There were only Dongfang Yu and Tian Xian, and no one watched the door, so these people kept coming as they wished. She had to use the formation to stop them. Initially, she was too lazy to set up the formation, but she did not expect that the people of the Mu family were so persistent. Yesterday, his daughter had just come, and today this old man was here too. When would they finally leave her alone? Dongfang Yu stopped Mu Yi. Her face was cold, expressionless. "What are you doing here? Leave now." Mu Yi frowned and looked at Dongfang Yu coldly. However, after seeing little Nine, who walked out from the courtyard, his face eased a lot, and his tone was gentle. Little Nine, this name gave the 9th Emperor goosebumps. She could not help but touch her arms as she shivered. However, Mu Yi, as if he did not notice it a bit, smiled and walked toward the 9th Emperor. "I came to look for you yesterday, and when I saw you sleeping, I left. So I came early this morning." The 9th Emperor looked at Mu Yi and frowned. "Then, what are you doing here?" "I came to see you. I want to ask about what happened yesterday." Mu Yi looked a bit hesitant. Perhaps he did not know if it should be said or not, but he still said it anyway. "Yesterday, your sister came home soaking wet. I want to ask you what happened. She just wants you to go home, so she came to meet you." The 9th Emperor looked blank and puzzled. "I don't know. Was she mad?" Mu Yi froze, and his face slightly stiffened. "Little Nine, what do you mean by that?" He trembled and asked. The 9th Emperor sneered and shrugged. "Yesterday, she came to me, stood in my courtyard for half a day, and did not say anything. But finally, all of a sudden, she jumped into the lake. All of a sudden, she jumped down the lake. Mu-yi froze. So it's not little Nine who pushed her. Why did Qingya jump into the lake? So, you should not ask me. You should go back and ask her what is wrong. If she wants to bathe, there is no need to come to me, or does she like the feeling of being wet? Little Nine. Mu-yi's face changed dramatically. Little Nine still isn't telling the truth about Qingya, your sister. She would not jump for no reason. Little Nine, tell me what really happened. I'm doing this for you, Mu-yi pleaded. Facing the daughter in front of him, he did not dare to say too much. What does he mean by doing this for me? He's here today to do justice for Mu Qingya. The ninth emperor sneered at Mu-yi. I said, if you want to know what happened, you should go back and ask her. There is no need for you to keep asking me here. If she did not jump down herself, are you implying that I pushed her? If so, why should I push her, me for extra chapters? Hearing the ninth emperor's words, Dongfang turned and looked at her. The ninth emperor indeed did not push Mu Qingya. She picked her up and threw her in. Mu-yi said he was just asking some questions, but he was just looking for trouble for her daughter in reality. Why can he only believe in Mu Qingya's words but not the ninth emperor, and he is still asking questions? If the ninth emperor told him what Mu Qingya said yesterday, I am afraid that this person will still only believe in Mu Qingya and not the ninth emperor. So, this was why the ninth emperor did not say anything, but she also did not like to take the blame for people. Little Nine. Qingya, how could she jump for no reason? Mu-yi was still somewhat unconvinced. Any ordinary person would not do this. However, looking at little Nine, it did not look like she was lying. Maybe it was because Mu Qingya had followed him since he was young, so he was still more willing to believe Mu Qingya. After all, Qingya would never lie, much less do something like framing others. The ninth emperor shrugged. I said I don't know. So you don't have to keep asking me. I don't welcome any of you here either. So in the future, you don't have to come to me and pollute my lake. I'm afraid she'll poison all the fish in my lake. Mu-yi's face turned pale as if he could not believe that these were little Nine's words. He had initially wanted to ask little Nine to follow him back to apologize to Mu Qingya, but he could not say these words for a while. He knew that he would only make a fool of himself by saying it out loud. Little Nine would never apologize. Little Nine, Qingya did not mean anything else. She just wants to reunite with you. As your father, I do not want you to end up like this. Do you understand? Mu-yi's gaze was sincere as he looked at the ninth emperor unblinkingly. The ninth emperor's face changed from the initial coldness to impatience as she said coldly, Dongfang, send him away, and in the future, none of them is allowed to disturb me. Little Nine. Mu-yi's voice was filled with grief. How did you turn out like this? I remember you were good, sweet, and understanding when you were a child. But why have you become so insensitive? Well-behaved and understanding. The ninth emperor snorted. Her voice was cold. To you? Or that old lady in your manner? Mu-yi's face stiffened. Little Nine's good behavior and understanding were only for her mother. She never liked old lady Mu. So, it was not that she had changed. She had not changed in all these years and was still as unapproachable as before. Little Nine, Qingluo is the princess of this kingdom, and Qingya is her daughter. I don't want her to find trouble with you. Do you understand? Mu-yi said painfully, this is all painful for me. So listen to me, no matter who is right and who is wrong this time, you must go and apologize to Qingya. Then, this matter will be over. Otherwise, Princess Qingluo would definitely not give up this time. Besides, Qingluo had already suffered too much for his sake and even lost the emperor's favor. If little Nine refused, it would only make Qingluo sad. How could he bear it in his heart? An apology could solve the problem. So why did they not solve it immediately? Dongfang Yu froze. Earlier, this person was asking the Ninth Emperor questions without knowing who was right or wrong, and then he wanted the Ninth Emperor to meet that woman to apologize. And, was Mu Qingya worthy of it? Master, Dongfang Ye's face turned cold. I will throw him out later and will not let him come here again in the future. Mu Yi's face darkened. Little Nine, listen to me. This servant is not a good person. She relies on your affection and favor. She does not respect us, so she will undoubtedly become unfilial, and she also relies on her beauty to hook up with Sima Yan. I am afraid she will only bring you disaster, me for extra chapters. Hook up with Sima Yan, yesterday, Mu Qingya said that, too. Chapter 2146, The Past Life 71 Mu Yi, this bastard. He is spewing nonsense again. He did not come last night because it was too late for him to disturb little Nine, but he did not expect that he would arrive just in time to hear Mu Yi accuse him today. Mu Yi froze. What's this guy doing here? He said with a taut face. I came to look for my daughter. What? Do you want to meddle in my daughter's affairs? Sima Yan coldly laughed at Mu Yi's appearance, and that laugh was filled with sarcasm. Your daughter. That also depends on whether she admits to being your daughter or not. If she doesn't admit that she is your daughter, so what does that mean to you? Mu Yi's face darkened. He turned to Sima Yan and snarled, She's my daughter. The blood of my Mu family runs through her body. So what do you mean she is not my daughter? Sima Yan. You'd better leave our Mu family's affairs alone. Whether little Nine admits it or not, it doesn't change the fact that I am her father. The sarcasm in Sima Yan's smile grew stronger, and even his eyes were filled with ridicule. After Princess Qingluo went back, he was sure that she did not tell Mu Yi what the emperor had told her. So now Mu Yi still dared to frame Dongfang Yu. Princess Qingluo. She's such trouble. I must report this to the emperor and get him to teach the princess well. She wants to drag down the entire Feng Yun kingdom because of jealousy. Mu Yi, you'd better go back and ask Princess Qingluo more about what the emperor said to her so that you won't get into trouble in the future. This statement made Mu Yi slightly stunned for a moment, but he was already overwhelmed by anger and only thought for half a second before returning to his senses and laughing coldly. What did she say? She has already told me that the emperor favors this servant because of you and that you and this servant still have an affair. Mu Yi's words became more excessive, making the Ninth Emperor go behind him immediately and kick him out hard. Dongfang Yu, close the door. No one is allowed to come here. She shrugged off her clothes, turned around, and walked toward the room. She did not even look at Sima Yan. These people came every day to disturb her peace. It was simply endless. They just could not let her be alone. And me for extra chapters. The Ninth Emperor paused for a moment. Mu Yi just got up from the ground. The fact that he was kicked out made his face pale and also in disbelief. What happened these years that made little Nine so unfilial, Mu Yi? The Ninth Emperor sneered. There is no relationship between us. There was not, and there will never be in the future. So, do not come to me again. I don't want to hear you humiliate Dongfang Yu. This time, I will still spare your life for the sake of my mother, who has been missing for years. But next time, I will make sure you will not be able to walk out of here. People's patience always had a limit. She could tolerate it only so far, even though it was not easy. This was all because, back then, this man was indeed the one her mother once loved. For her sake, she gave him one last chance. However, if he appeared before her again, then she really would not be polite. Little 9. Mu-yi looked mournful. I am your father. Shut up. The 9th emperor was expressionless. You only have one daughter, and that is Mu-Qingya. I am not your daughter, because I cannot give the title that you have today. Do you think you can threaten me with this? Me for extra chapters. Sima Yan sneered and smirked. But compared to Fengyun Kingdom, of course, his kingdom is more important to him. After saying that, Sima Yan left. He brushed his sleeves and left, fast and hurried. Mu-yi's face sank. Why would it be compared to his kingdom? It's hard not to say that this bastard Sima Yan wants to threaten the emperor with the troops in his hands. But is the emperor someone who could be threatened so easily? Moreover, even if Sima Yan is strong, he was given the power by the emperor, and if he left Fengyun Kingdom, he is nothing. He gradually calmed down as he thought about this. Chapter 2148. The Past Life 73. When Sima Yan left, Mu-yi did not stay longer. He finally looked at the door of the 9th emperor's closed door, turned around, and left. Meanwhile, in the emperor's son-in-law's manor, Princess Qingluo had long been waiting for him. She waited for a long time until Mu-yi returned. She hurriedly stood up and rushed toward him anxiously. How is it? She was impatient. Seeing Princess Qingluo walking over, Mu-yi's face slightly sank. He sighed helplessly and smiled bitterly. She does not want to come. In the end, he still reported the words truthfully to Qingluo. This was what Princess Qingluo had expected. Therefore, when Qingluo saw Mu-yi this way, she did not seem surprised. She sneered. Mu-yi, if she does not want to come, we cannot force her. After all, I have already given her an opportunity, but she did not grab it. Little 9, that bitch. She not only wanted to steal away Mu-yi, but she even humiliated my daughter. Does she think that I will let her go? A cold light flashed in her eyes, a coldness that made people shudder. Mu-yi's heart thumped. He knew that Princess Qingluo was very angry, but little 9 was his daughter. How could he bear to see her suffer? Qingluo, Mu-yi suddenly thought of Sima Yan's words. He gritted his teeth and said, Did the emperor say anything to you before? What? There was a cold light in her eyes. Do you think my father has said other things to me? And that I would omit that? Mu-yi, I have never thought that you will think of me like that. If there is something about me that you are unhappy about, then just tell me. I, Qingluo, have endured all these years in this family for you. I gave up my glory and wealth as a princess. I had made my father resent me, so what more do you want? Each sentence carried anger and disappointment. In the past, Mu-yi did not care about Princess Qingluo. It was the old lady who forced him to marry, and he never cared about her. However, this time, seeing the disappointment in Qingluo's eyes, his heart trembled, and he closed his eyes in guilt. Qingluo, I don't mean it that way. His voice was a little choked and hoarse, and he slowly opened his eyes. Me for extra chapters. That's enough. Qingluo angrily raised her hand and pushed Mu-yi, who wanted to approach her, away, and her eyes were filled with grief. You would rather believe Sima Yan over me. Mu-yi, I, Qingluo, vouch for myself that I have never wronged you all these years. If you still pity little 9, then I do the same. She is your daughter. How could I not accept her? Even though I have thought about it, as long as she is willing to come back, I will ask Qingya to give up her room. But why are you treating me like this? Not only did you suspect me for not telling the whole truth earlier, but you also broke Kinjia's heart for little Nine. She only went to meet little Nine for your sake, but little Nine treated her like this, and as a father, you failed to do her justice. Tears flowed from King Luo's eyes, and her voice sounded heartbreaking. No matter how much little Nine dislikes me, I have accepted it. After all, it is true that I snatched you from her, and because of me, the old lady does not like her, but if she wants to go away, it is her own choice. Why do you put the fault on Qingya and me? Her mother is no longer alive, so why must you keep her in your heart for life? In this world, it was customary for men to have many wives and concubines, but there were not many good men like Mu Yi. That was why she had married him despite the opposition from so many people. But little Nine's mother was dead. For a deceased person, why did he still have to long for her? She married him, and what was wrong with that? What qualifications does that bitch little Nine have to complain about me? Looking at Mu Yi, who did not say anything, Princess Qing Luo sneered. My daughter is my life. I will not allow anyone to bully her even a bit. If little Nine is willing to come back, then she will also be my daughter, but if she is unwilling to come back, then she has no right to bully my Qingya. Mu Yi's lips trembled, and he closed his eyes again. After the trembling heart calmed down, he opened his eyes. There is another matter, he smiled bitterly. Little Nine told me that it was Qingya who jumped into the lake herself. So I came back this time to ask Qingya personally. Did she, Pop? A clear sound came from outside the door. Mu Yi looked up and saw Mu Qingya approaching them with a bowl of soup. Perhaps because of his words earlier, the bowl of soup in Mu Qingya's hand fell to the ground, and the bowl shattered into pieces. Mu Qingya's face was pale. With a look of disbelief, she gazed at Mu Yi, aggrieved. Father, are you doubting me? She even spoke with a trembling voice, and her tears flowed uncontrollably. I don't mean that. I just want to hear you explain it yourself. Mu Yi's heart ached. She was his most beloved daughter, and he felt guilty to little Nine. After all, it was all father's guess. As long as you tell me the truth, I will believe in you. Mu Qingya smiled bitterly. I don't want to cause any fight in our family. I also do not want to be a tattletale, but I never thought my sister would make such accusations. Why would I jump into the lake? Only to get wet. All these years, Mu Qingya had never told a lie. Therefore, Mu Yi said, as long as she told him what happened that day, he would trust her. But little Nine, she lied to him before. Me for extra chapters. She had clearly said she was going to go out for a trip and soon would return, but who knew that after so many years, she would not return? That girl lied to him, so how could he believe her? I'm sorry, Qingya. It's father, that's enough. Princess Qing Luo shouted angrily. She glared at Mu Yi, seemingly in deep pain. You not only doubted me before but now, you are doubting even Qingya. Mu Yi, I have been doing everything in vain for so many years. I was so infatuated with you, and this is how you repay us. Mu Qingya froze. She pursed her lips. Father was also doubting. Mother. Father and mother have always respected each other, but now for little Nine, they have become like this. How could she be calm? Mu Qingya took a deep breath. The cold air that she had inhaled through her mouth made her tremble a little. Because of Sima Yan's words, your father thought that your grandfather and I discussed something without telling him. King Luo's eyes were full of disappointment. For little Nine, you have become a stranger to me. Looking at Princess Qing Luo's disappointed expression, Mu Yi's heart once again felt stung. Chapter 2150, The Past Life 75. He wanted to comfort Princess Qingluo, but she dodged him before he could touch her. His fingers stiffened in the air, and his gaze was filled with sorrow. Qingluo, I'm sorry. It's not that I don't believe you. That's enough. Qingluo closed her eyes in disappointment, her body was trembling. After a few seconds, she gradually calmed down and slowly opened her eyes. You don't have to explain. I know what's in your heart. My daughter and I can never compare to your little nine. For so many years, it has been me who has been bugging you. If you don't like it, I am willing to take Qingya away so you can live happily with little nine. Mu Qingya walked up to Qingluo's side sadly. It was obvious that she was disappointed with Mu Yi. Mu Yi felt guilty. He felt like a useless father for doubting Qingya. Qingya would never lie. Qingluo, you do not have to say such things. In my heart, no one is more important than Qingya. I owe too much to little nine, and I want to make up to her, but what I really care about most is always Qingya. One was the daughter who grew up with him, the other. She left when she was a child. The most important would always be the one who grew up around him. Old Lady Mu had awakened and had only been resting in her room. However, she rushed out after her servant reported to her about this matter. When she heard that Qingluo was going to take Mu Qingya away, she was so angry that her cane hit the ground hard, and there was a wave of uncontrollable anger in her voice. Bastard! You bastard! Who permitted you to meet little nine again? That little bastard still dares to hurt Qingya. Did you think that because I'm injured, I would allow her to do whatever she wants? Mu Yi, go and drive that bastard away immediately. Don't allow her to appear in Fengyan Kingdom, or else I won't even take you as my son anymore. Mu Yi opened his mouth and wanted to defend little nine, but after seeing Mu Qingya and Princess Qingluo's faces sink, he remained silent. He was afraid that little nine would have a hard time if she did not come back home. But now, perhaps it was better to let her leave just like before, and maybe she would have a better life out there. However, he owed his daughter a lot, and he felt guilty. Therefore, even after little nine had made a mistake, he was still willing to tolerate her again and let her come back. However, she hurt Qingya. If she had not targeted Qingya, he would have let her stay. Me for extra chapters. Let me take care of this matter. Mu Yi smiled bitterly. The anger upon Princess Qingluo's face faded after hearing this. She pursed her lips and said, Mu Yi, had little nine promised to be more obedient and not bully Qingya, maybe I would still keep her and treat her nicely. But she is too wild, cruel, and vicious. If Qingya did not know how to swim, wouldn't she have drowned in that lake? She sighed. If she could do this. Who knows if one day she would poison Qingya out of jealousy. We can't let that happen. Mu Yi did not say a word. When Princess Qingluo saw Mu Yi return without success, her face was suddenly cold again as she asked, Mu Yi, up until now you are still pitying little nine. What about our daughter and mother? Moreover, you went out for a whole day and night before coming back. What exactly did you do? Mu Yi smiled bitterly and said helplessly, I don't know what happened. After I entered the courtyard, I couldn't see anyone, and I couldn't leave. Until the dawn. I somehow walked out again. If he said he did not see anyone, Qingluo might have believed that maybe little nine had gone out, so he could not see her. But walking around the courtyard all night without being able to come out, and then somehow coming out at dawn. Did he think she was a fool? Princess Qingluo sneered, and the disappointment in her eyes grew. Mu Yi, you can even tell such a lie for little nine. Would you do something to our mother and daughter then? Chapter 2152, The Past Life 77. When Mu Yi saw that Qing Luo did not trust him, he became a little anxious, but looking at King Luo's indifference, he could not even say a word. It's not a surprise if Qing Luo did not trust me. How can she believe in me after what I've done to her these years? I owe Qing Luo too much in this life. Mu Yi closed his eyes in sorrow and said nothing. His face was so pale that King Luo's heart almost softened again after seeing him in such condition. No. My daughter and I will suffer if he doesn't drive little Nine away. Therefore, Qing Luo remained cold. She was no longer looking at Mu Yi. She simply turned around and walked into the room. She slammed the door of the room fiercely, leaving Mu Yi speechless. Mu Yi laughed bitterly. He looked at the closed door for a while before turning around and walking out of the courtyard. After that day, he went again to find the 9th Emperor, and every time he entered the courtyard, he would be trapped inside for a night. The same thing repeated for several days, and even the 9th Emperor's people were impatient. Therefore, they locked him for 3 days and 3 nights before he was released. Dongfang, you've handled these things. The 9th Emperor stayed peacefully inside her courtyard together with Nan Chongfeng. Later, Mu Yi learned to be wise and no longer snuck into the courtyard. He secretly hid outside the gate, waiting for the 9th Emperor. After all, the 9th Emperor could not remain inside at all times. Moreover, he clearly heard a voice in this courtyard, but he could not find her every time he went in. He guessed the courtyard was set up with some formation so that he could not enter. As expected, not long after, he saw a figure in a red dress slowly walking out of the courtyard. The sunshine was perfect today. The 9th Emperor stretched her body lazily with a smile upon her face. Looking at her smile, Mu Yi's heart trembled a little. He could not help but think of that person again back then. Unfortunately, she was long gone. If she were still there, perhaps all this mess would not have happened. Mu Yi smiled bitterly and walked toward the 9th Emperor. The 9th Emperor looked up and coincidentally saw Mu Yi walking toward her. She frowned and looked a little annoyed. Why are you here again, me for extra chapters? She had a headache whenever she saw this man. Mu Yi looked a little embarrassed. Little Nine, why haven't I been able to see you these past few days when I went to your courtyard? Oh, the 9th Emperor was expressionless. It's because I don't want you to see me. Hearing these words, Mu Yi froze, and the smile on his lips grew bitter. He then sighed lightly. I came to find you because there is something I want to talk to you about. The 9th Emperor raised her eyebrows and turned to Mu Yi. Mu Yi smiled helplessly. It has been a long time since you came here. I wonder. When will you leave? The 9th Emperor was stunned. Earlier, this man was trying every possible way to get me home, and in the blink of an eye, he wants to drive me away. Hee, the 9th Emperor smiled coldly as she turned to Mu Yi. Is this kingdom yours? Mu Yi's expression changed dramatically. Little Nine, don't talk nonsense. This kingdom is the Emperor's. Chapter 2153, The Past Life 78-inch. Well, the 9th Emperor smiled faintly as she asked, then, what right do you have to drive me away? Since she was here, she would not leave so easily. Mu Yi was a little impatient. Little Nine, don't you understand? Qing Luo is the princess of Fengyun Kingdom. The emperor was not happy when she married me. Maybe he doesn't love Qing Luo as much as before, but she's still his daughter. I'm doing this for your good. This girl. How can she be so stubborn and not understand my intention? Mu Yi was afraid that if Little Nine continued to stay, something terrible might happen to her. She was his daughter. How could he not worry about her? Well, the 9th Emperor looked at him calmly. If you want me to leave, ask the Emperor to come and talk to me personally. After saying that, the ninth emperor was about to leave. However, Mu Yi was a bit anxious. He reached out to pull the ninth emperor's sleeve. Only her sleeve. Mu Yi wanted to stop her, but facing the cold ninth emperor, he did not dare to grab her arms. The ninth emperor stopped. She glanced coldly at Mu Yi, who was tugging at her sleeve. Let go. Mu Yi smiled bitterly. Little Nine, just listen to my advice. I will ask you once more, will you let go? Her gaze was cold. So cold that Mu Yi's heart trembled a little. Little Nine really made him a little afraid now. However, he knew that once he let go, Little Nine would ignore him, and if she continued to stay, Qing Luo would also be angry. Little Nine, you, get out. The ninth emperor pulled her sleeves away forcefully, sending Mu Yi flying away. Afterward, without even looking at him, she turned around and left. Mu Yi rolled on the ground, landing in front of a pair of feet. He looked up and saw a cold face. The young man was very handsome and with beautiful silver hair. However, his face and his eyes were cold. Me for extra chapters. Next time, if you disturb the ninth emperor again, the young man smirked. I will make you disappear from here. Forever. Mu Yi trembled harder with each sentence. The coldness wrapped around his entire body as if it could drag him into hell. Fortunately, the young man did not stay much longer. He walked away, following the ninth emperor. The man in a snow-colored long robe gradually disappeared. Mu Yi gradually regained his strength and calmed down. He clenched his fists tightly. He did not understand why Little Nine refused to listen to him. If she stayed, could she fight against Qing Luo? With her background, she was not a match for Qing Luo. She was just asking for trouble. As a father, I've done what should be done. I have even prayed a few times for you and Princess Qing Luo.